Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. This is the Airfix 1/72 scale Churchill Mk.VII, and this is what we're going to build today. So, let's get on with it. So yes, this is the Airfix Churchill. It's one of their vintage classics range, which means that the moulds are probably ridiculously old. But there's a reason I'm building this. At the last Remembrance Day parade, I obviously met up with a bunch of my old comrades, and one of them is also a model maker, and he told me that he and his son had built this and had struggled with it. And he said, "Oh, have you ever built one?" I said, "No, I haven't." So I thought I'd give it a go, and as it turned out, I actually had one in stock, as it were. So I thought I'd give it a go. So Woody, this one's for you. Anyway, so this is the not 1/72 scale, it's 1/76 scale Churchill Mk.VIII. And as I say, this is part of the Airfix Vintage Classics, which is basically them putting old models in new boxes, which is always problematic. And in fact, where is it? Let's see if it's got a date on here somewhere. There it is. So hopefully you can see that, but it says model design and tooling 1961, illustration 1975, pack design 2018. So yeah. But anyway, we'll see what it's like. There shouldn't be too much to it. I do like the fact that it basically calls for a grand total of 3 colours. So we'll see how we go with this. But let's get out of the box and have a look at it. Right. There's the model. And here's the instructions. And I'm assuming that what decals there are, oh, there they are included. The little bit of tissue paper has naturally fallen off. So yeah, there's only a couple of decals, that's fine. Let's have a quick look at the instructions. Let's see. Standard British infantry tank from 1941. The Churchill sacrificed speed for heavy armour, good firepower, good cross-country performance. First used during the Dieppe landings, later El Alamein, Churchill proved particularly effective in the battles in Tunisia with the First Army. Progressive development saw the introduction of the Mark IV, with a 75mm gun and a cast turret, and the Mark VII, which incorporated increased frontal armour up to 6 inches thick. Wow. And a redesigned welded hull. Weighed 40 tonnes, 350 horsepower engine, a top speed of 12.5 miles an hour. Okay, right. The instructions all look fairly basic, as you would expect. Okay, so, oh yeah, all of the suspension is all in individual bits. That's going to be hilarious. All right, let's have a look at the actual model. Now, knife. Right, do you know what, at first glance that doesn't look terrible considering the age of the moulds. It really doesn't look that bad at all, funnily enough. Although we do appear to have a bit of brewer's droop on the gun. We'll have to try and straighten that out. Oh dear. But yeah, it doesn't look that bad. It doesn't even look like there's that many mould lines on it. There's a little bit of flashing here and there, but it doesn't look terrible. All right. Well, let's see what we've got to do with this thing. Now the tracks are going to be interesting. Is there only one track? There's only one track. Oh, does this? Oh, hang on. Does this split down the middle? Let's have a quick look at the instructions. Oh, it doesn't actually say anything about splitting the track in two, but I think that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, it must be, because otherwise there's only one track, and that can't be right. Yeah, so I think that must come apart. Oh, that's going to be awful to cut apart. Yeah, that must be how it works. You have to split it down the middle to make the two tracks. Okay. Right. So let's have a look at these instructions and make a start on this thing. So we've got to put together 1,000,000 of these times 22. Okay. Now, the thing that I'm not entirely sure. Are those rubber wheels or are they steel? Because in the cover box, on the cover art, it's they look like they're the same colour as the rest of the vehicle, but that doesn't mean anything. Let me have a quick shifty on the internet. Right, so I've just moved the camera to give us a bit of better view of what's going on, and it appears that these road wheels are in fact metal, and they're the same colour as the rest of the tank, which is useful. So some of them do have a little bit of flashing on. We'll have to clean those up. But what I'm going to do is I'll just put together a couple of these bits just to show you, and then I'll do the rest of them off camera, because otherwise you'd probably all be asleep by the time I've finished. So I have to say, in all fairness, this really doesn't look that bad. I'm quite impressed considering how old the moulds are. There is some flashing on the back of that. That's fun. Right, so we want 2 of them. Let's put that to one side for a minute. And we want one of these. And one of those. So let's give these a quick tidy up. Where are my glasses? There they are. Right. Yeah. Let's say there's some flashing on it, but it's not terrible. I'm genuinely pleasantly surprised by this, I have to say. Because a lot of the time these older models are absolutely awful. All right. Some glue would help. Now the thing is, some of these, where they're attached to the frames, you might need to clean up the sprocket a little bit, just to make sure that it fits properly on the thing. Now that goes with that bit facing outwards, like that. That goes like that. I'm going to lose that wheel in a minute, you watch. Yeah, you see, like this one, it's connected in between 2 of the teeth. So we need to clean that out. And the main reason is just so that when we go to put the track on, it doesn't matter where this is. So we just cut that bit out like that. There we go. There's a little bit of flash in there we'll get rid of. Like that. Actually, there's quite a lot of flashing on there. That hole is actually quite deformed in the middle of that. I'll bet you any money like that won't fit on there. Yeah, it won't. Okay, we'll have to clean that out a bit better. We might have to put a drill through this. Let's just measure that. Right. That is just a shade over 4mm. So hopefully we can put... Hang on, did I measure that right? I think I measured that wrong. Measure twice, cut once, you know. 3mm. Yeah, let's measure that right, shall we? And it might actually help. Right, this drill is slightly over 3mm, so it should work. That looks a bit better. Let's see if that will go on there now. Nope, needs a bit more. That's more like it. Right, let's make sure those teeth are lined up. Otherwise the tracks won't fit. Right, so that will do for that. Now we've got this to sort out. Now there is some flashing on there which needs to be removed. Birds hitting the roof. They're all going after the bird feeder outside. And the thing is, the big birds like that feeder. I don't know, I don't quite understand how they even get on it because it's not meant for them, but they find a way. Right. And now this one. This is going to be the awkward bit doing all of these. Right. And so now, let's make sure we get those in the right place. So they go on the pins closest to the spring, like that. There's one. And there's two, like that. And then if we take one of our side pieces, now this is kind of annoying. That is a big chunk of plastic there. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take our razor saw and cut that off with that. I don't want to get my finger behind it because I don't want to cut my finger as well. plastic. That's better. Alright, there's a few bits of flashing on here we can get rid of as well. But yeah, on the whole, this is not bad. Right, now this is the bit we actually want to connect all these bits to, and there are some ejector pins in here that we're going to just snip off just to make sure they don't get in the way later. There's a nice little blob of plastic there we'll have to try and get rid of. Is that? Oh, that's an ejector mark as well. Look at the size of that. That's an ejector pin. That shouldn't be there. I might cut this off with a razor saw. Oh, actually there's a bit there we need to get rid of first, so that the saw can go flat against the plastic. Right. There we go, that's better. I say these ones in here I'm not really worried about. Right, so as I was saying, right, that goes in there. And then this goes wheels go to the front. Oh no, hang on, I'm looking at that the wrong way. The wheels go that way. Oh, that big lump is in the way, because I think what's meant to happen is that's, that's meant to go like that. I might have to clean these holes out a bit as well. Oh, good grief. You know when I said this was looking pretty good? Apparently not. Okay, this is going to take a bit longer than I thought. I need to clean that out better. Let me get a rotary tool. This is where something like this comes in handy. For doing little things like this. I can see now why my friend was so less than enamoured of this thing, because having to put all these road wheels and everything together is going to be time consuming at best. But you know, it's fine. There are worse ways to spend the day, let's face it. Right, let's try that now. That's more like it. So that goes in there like that. But I do think we're going to have to clean out those holes. And there's also a bit of flashing on here, which is really in an awkward place. So there's not a lot of flashing on this, but it all tends to be right where you don't want it to be. Right, let's measure this and see how big that pin is. That is 0.8 of a millimetre. And that is 0.85. So let's find a suitable drill bit. Right, this is a 0.8 millimetre drill bit. So we'll pop that through there. And hopefully that will now fit properly. That's better. Right. It goes like that. And there we go. Only 20 something or more to do. I'll get these done off camera and then I'll come back when they're all together, because otherwise we'll be here all day. Oh dear. Right. Progress has happened, along with a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. In a turn of events that will surprise no one, this doesn't fit together very well. So I've got all of these glued on, and what I need to do now is fit this side. Now, the instructions call for you to get to this point, then put the track on, which obviously wraps around like that, and then stick this bit on over the top. Now, that's fine, but then how are you supposed to paint the thing? So we're going to leave the track off, and what we're going to do is we're going to stick this together and then paint it, and then we're going to basically do a bit of jiggery pokery to get the track in there, but we'll get to that later. So what we've got to do now is get all of this all lined up. Now, it's actually not that bad. What I did was, when I put the all the bogies on the road wheels, I then used this other side like as a jig to hold it all together while it dried. And so now I can attach this side and it should all fit together relatively well, he says, tongue firmly in cheek. Now, one of the awkward bits is getting these end wheels to line up, because they don't really want to, but that's gone in. So now we can work our way down, and these should all go together fairly well, because as I said, I had them all together before. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a clamp on this end just to hold it while we get all the rest of it lined up. It's actually, like I said, it shouldn't be too far off because we've already had it together once. Now, the other thing is, this is really awkward to get into place. I think that's somewhere near right. So now we can start gluing this up. Now, I'll put another clamp on the front here. I bought these clamps at a car show ages ago, and the nice thing is with them is if you look at them, they have like a flat bit on the end. You see the way they're shaped, which means for things like this, you can just kind of just put them on the thing, like on the edge like that, and it kind of lines everything up. So they actually work really well for stuff like this. The only thing is they're very, very strong for their size, and so you have to be careful with them, because in certain applications what they'll do is just crush everything. But in this case, we do want a bit of brute force and ignorance to hold all this together. So the fact that they're quite strong is actually quite useful. Now, that should do us. Those road wheels are actually better lined up than they look. But, you know, they're not perfect, as can be expected. But they should do the job. And so what we'll do is we'll leave this to all dry and start working on the rest of the hull, which I'm hoping will go together a bit easier, but anyway. Right, let's start putting this hull together. So this goes in here. All of these bits had ridiculous amounts of ejector pin marks on them. You can see them here. You see how big these ejector pins are, and you have to clean them all off. I mean, obviously these ones don't matter because they're on the inside, but it's yeah, it's a lot. Right, that goes like that, and then we need to stick this bow machine gun in here. Try and get it in somewhere near straight. That looks straight, so pop that in. I'll put a little dot of glue on the back of that, although I don't think it's ever going to come out, but there you go. This goes on the front of here, like that. Oh wait, hang on. Oh no, there's a big bit of flashing on there as well. Brilliant. I thought I'd cleaned it all off, but I missed a bit. Never mind. Right, we'll try that again. That's better. Right, that goes on like that. Then we need to put these hatch covers in. And it's actually, I quite like the fact they've done this like this, because it means in theory you could have the hatch covers open if you wanted to. I'm not going to. But if you wanted to get yourself some little, you know, figures and put them in there, then you could. Of course, these, I've just realised, have got massive ejector pins on the back of them as well. So we'll have to cut those off first. So give me a minute. Oh, that's if I don't end up throwing it on the floor. Because I don't know if they will actually fit where they're meant to go with those big ejector marks on them. Right, let's try this one. So the ones without the handles go towards the back. This has handles, so this goes to the front. Right, okay. That one does not have handles, but it does have flashing. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Right. This is the fun bit, is trying to get these all in place. Oh. You see, the really clever way to have done this would have been to have had these as individual pieces and then also had them as separate pieces so that you could, you know, do whichever way you wanted. But that doesn't look like that's going to fit in there, because of course it isn't. Are we having fun yet? All right, I'll just trim that down a little touch. I don't need a lot, just scrape a bit off the edge really. All right, let's see if that will go in there now. Might need a certain level of brute force and ignorance. No, because that's rounded and this isn't. So I'm going to have to nip a bit off the corner. Like that. Do you know what? I've said it before and I will say it again. I often wonder if anyone at any of these model companies actually tries to build any of these things after they've, you know, made them. It's like, does anybody actually try and put one of these together? Because they inevitably don't fit. And it's just like, well, and it's fairly obvious that they don't fit. So, you know, why does it, who lets it go out in this condition, you know what I mean? But, you know, I suppose you could say that about a lot of things. Right. Somewhere near. Now, is that going to fit in there, or are we going to have to trim this as well? I suspect we're going to have to trim this as well. Although, we might get away with this, because if we put... Oh, that's way too much glue on here. And then we might be able to just poke that down a bit like that. You see? Good enough for government work, as Bunny Kitten always says. Alright. That ejector oh, focus. It's actually the same thickness as the piece. So it's one of the nice things about using these solvents for adhesives is the fact that you can kind of, when you've got things that don't quite fit properly, you can use this to kind of melt them into place. Like that. Where'd the other one go? There it is. Right, let's see if this goes in. It would actually be a lot easier to have them open, but the trouble is there's nothing on the inside of it. So we'll do it like that instead. Right. Doesn't look too bad, does it? If you kind of turn your head and squint. Now we need to attach this to this. I've already removed large lumps of plastic from this one, although possibly not enough. Alright. That goes like that. And we're going to let that dry for a second before we try and get the back into place. See, there's this thing on the back, which I don't know if it's supposed to be the exhaust or something, but all it is doing currently is getting in the way. And I'm kind of tempted just to cut it off, quite honestly. Yeah. See, this here is stopping this from going down properly. Let's... Again, brute force and ignorance. There we go, now it goes down there properly. That's better. Right. There we go. That's all right. Now the plans call for the next stage to put the tracks on, but we can't do that yet because I want to let those things dry. So I think we'll throw the turret together. Right. So we've been trying to get some of these bits to fit together properly, which has been more fun than you can imagine. This is awful. Not sure how these actually go in here, or do they just... They just go in like that? I think they do. So we want that facing front to back. Oh! Or I could drop it on the floor. 1 second. Not today, carpet monster. Right, let's try that again, shall we? Alright, that goes very badly on there. It's like nothing, none of the circular things are actually circular. That doesn't even fit in there. Right, we need to clean that out a little bit. Right, let's try that. I want to drop it on the floor again, you watch. That's getting closer. That's nearly. All right. There we go. Yeah, that's straight. Right. Now let's try and get these in there. Oh, of course they've got massive ejector pin marks on it. I should have realised after the last one, shouldn't I? I'll tell you what, they were making no... I have no idea where that went. It went that way somewhere. Okay, we'll find that later, or it might just not have it. Right. You can go there. And we'll try and get that into place. I think that's Okay, we'll find that other bit in a minute. Oh, wait, there it is. It must have hit the glue bottle and come back. I'll have to go back through the footage and see if I can get a slow motion shot of it. Anyway, this is where it's now going to go twang and disappear across the workshop and never be seen again. Oh. Oh, good grief. Oh. There we go. Perfect. Looks like it grew there. Now this back part here, where it has this cover on it, I had to thin down the plastic quite a lot to actually make this fit in a move that will surprise no one. So let's stick that on. So that goes like that. And the last bit is the gun. But if you recall, the gun is is listing to port somewhat. So I'm going to have to try and gently straighten that out. I think what's happened is when it was put in the bag, it was like wedged at the bottom of the bag and bent. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, it's not bad, is it? I think that'll do us. The other thing I want to do is I want to drill a hole in the end of it, just to at least make it look something like a gun. Oh, the point's gone off this blade. That's going to be fun. Right. We don't need to drill out the whole barrel or anything. Just put just a little divot in the end like that, you see, just so it's got focus, so it's got something that makes it a bit more gunny. Right, and then that goes in to the turret, and I'm assuming just snaps into place, or doesn't, as the case may be, because of course it doesn't. Get in there. I think that's to allow the gun to move up and down slightly. And then this goes over the top like that, and we glue it into place. And there we go, one turret. So now we'll let everything dry, and then we can start thinking about putting some paint on this thing. Right, so this is where we're at currently. I put the sides on, as you can see. I actually went to record that, and I was talking to my daughter while I was doing it, and then at the end realised I hadn't actually hit record on the camera. So my apologies for that, but as you can see, it's just basically this fitting the sides. I've also hit this with some primer. This is our normal high coat grey primer, usual stuff I use. Not a sponsor, but I wish they were. I've also filled a few gaps here and there. There wasn't very many actually. It actually fits together reasonably well with some brute force and ignorance. Cleaned up a lot of little mold lines and stuff, you know, the usual. That's all done. So that's the hull. I have also worked on the turret. So basically I just filled in some gaps on the front and around the cupola, what you want to call it. I have also added some holes to the muzzle brake. So that was just using a 0.8mm drill bit, same as I used earlier on, just to make it a bit more, you know, muzzle brake basically. So that's that. So now we can put some paint on the thing, and we are going to start with this German red-brown surface primer from Vallejo, just basically so we can do some chipping later on. And for an airbrush, we're actually going to use this. This is our apparently somewhat infamous cordless airbrush. I've had quite a few comments from people saying they want to see more of this, so we might as well give it a go for this. So yes, this is first. Right, now we've got all our various bits painted with that red-brown. That gives us a nice base to do some paint chipping. And before we do that, we need to put a lacquer coat on it. So we are going to use this high coat clear lacquer. So I'll give this a quick spritz and we'll let that dry, and then we'll put some colour coats on. Right, so there's our lacquer, nice and dry. And one final step before we put paint on is hairspray. Now this is just some cheap stuff I got from Sainsbury's. Use whatever one you want, really. I did a video on different hairsprays and which ones I found were the best, and this was one of them. There's also the Lacura range from Aldi, if you happen to have one nearby. That works very well as well. But yes, we're going to put a spray of this on, and then we'll put colour coats over the top of that. And for our first colour coat, we're going to use this XF62 Olive Drab. And now we're going to do some highlighting with our old friend XF55 Deck Tan. Right, and what we want to do is just go on the panels and just highlight the middle of the panels. And you don't need to be too precious about it, just basically what we want to do is introduce some tonal variation, just so that it doesn't look quite so uniform. And I've got this paint very heavily thinned, and I'm spraying it at a very low pressure. And rather than sort of low lighting the dark areas, as it were, we're highlighting the brighter areas. I have to say, this brush is surprisingly good for this kind of work. There we go, like that. So I'll do the rest of this, and then we'll put a thinned colour coat over the top of it. Right, well now the airbrush is recharged, which seems like a very odd thing to have to say, but there you go. We're going to go back over our modelling with a very thinned coat of our XF62 olive drab. And what we want to do here is just go over it very, very lightly and just very gradually build it up, because what you don't want to do is obscure everything you've just done and have to start again from scratch. So we just put very thin coats on, and one of the things you'll find when you do this is it will start to cover like that, but then when it dries, the deck tan will show through. So it's a good idea when you're doing this to just take it easy, just do light thin coats, and then let it dry. Hit it with a hairdryer or something and see what it looks like. It also tends to show up a lot more on the camera than it does in real life. So, but just like that, you see, and we'll let that dry for a minute, see what it looks like, and if it needs any more, we'll put some more on. Right, so I've just put a couple of very thin coats on, and then I hit it with a hairdryer. And so now, as you can see, or hopefully the camera will pick it up all right, you can see that it looks green, but it doesn't look like a flat monochromatic colour. It's got some variation to it, so it looks a bit more realistic. But that's basically the effect we're after. So I will get on and do the rest, and then we'll go on from there. Right, now that is all dry, we're going to make it wet again, because we're going to do some paint chipping. So over the back here, you can just see the corner of it there, that's my Airwick wax burner, because we're also going to do some decals later. So I've just warmed up some water, and we're going to do some paint chipping. I just find it's easier with warm water. And I'll just give you a quick demo, but we're going to start just by wetting the front of this wing here. We'll do both of them. And what we want is for that water to soak through the paint and reactivate the hairspray. Now, to be fair, it has been on there since yesterday, so it might take a bit of oomph to get it to reactivate. And you know what I'm also going to do? I just realised I'm going to put a glove on, because I don't want to get my greasy mitts all over this paint job. So this is much better. But we'll just get these wet and just let the water soak into it for a minute, and hopefully we'll be able to chip the paint. Now, we don't need to do it a massive amount, because obviously this is 1/76 scale, so a lot of the cracks and chips and things you wouldn't really see very well. But let's see if we can get this to do anything. Oh, that's actually coming off really easy. That's nice. Good. So we're just going to do a few little bits on the corners, mainly on the front, because obviously this is where it had been, you know, driving through, you know, bushes and hedgerows and whatever else. This is an old oil brush. They have very thick bristles, and what I did was I cut it down so that to make them very stiff. Stop laughing at the back. And so it's good for this kind of thing. Like I say, we don't want to go mad with it. I don't know how well you can actually, whether you can really see that very well, but you just see how it started to chip just around here. That's really all we want, is just the tiniest amount, because, as I say, this is the scale of this thing. You don't want to rip big lumps of paint off it. you can also use other tools. Use whatever works. So like, for example, this is a cocktail stick, and so you can just use that as well, and just kind of push it against it and just kind of scrape it slightly. You see, like that. And I think that is actually more than enough. So I will go over the rest of this, and then we will see what it looks like. Right, so I have finished doing all the paint chipping. I have done a few little details by hand, and now given it a coat of the gloss lacquer again to seal everything. Now we can put some decals on. So I've got my Mr. Mark setter. I've got my Airwick thing still going with some hot water in it, and we are going to apply some decals. I do need a pair of tweezers. Right, there are some tweezers, and I think what we'll do is I'll just do a couple just to show you, and then we'll I'll do the rest off camera. So I'm going to put these little diamond things on the side of the turret. So we'll just dip them in the water. Let them sit for a minute. Oh, where are my glasses? All right. Oh. And we'll just put a little drop of that on there. Doesn't need a lot. And take one of these and pop it on there. Oh, except it's stuck to the tweezers, because of course it has. And that one's stuck to my fingers. Right, just move that into place. Something like that. And then take a cotton bud and just roll over it. Oh, it's moved. Of course it's moved, because why wouldn't it? And now I won't be able to get it back into place. That's fine. If it does that, just put a bit more of the setter on it and let it get underneath it, and it will start moving again. These things are sent to try us. Try not to worry about it too much. It's very easy to panic when things like that happen, but it's fine. But that's why you roll the cotton bud. But there you go. See, simple as that. So I will put the rest of these on, and then we'll go on from there. Right, so there we go. I applied the decals. I also gave it a coat of matte lacquer just to seal everything. And as I said, I did a few little bits by hand, just the shovels and whatnot on the guns. I also decided, instead of putting the Apollo decals on, because I thought they looked way too neat. I didn't like those. So I painted Woody on the side of it in honour of my friend. Which I thought he's going to cringe when he sees that. Anyway, what we need to do now is put the tracks on. So let's get our tracks. And of course, these are rubber, which is going to be fun. Now, obviously, I can't wrap them all the way around. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically poke them in the back like that. And then I'm going to wrap them around. And then cut off a reasonable amount, and then just tuck it in the front. So in order to hold all this on, I'm going to cut this end off. Like that. And I'm going to use some super glue. So I've got this Gorilla Glue. So glasses would help so I can see what I'm doing. So we'll tuck that up in there like that. And it only needs to go under a bit, it's just to hide the end of it, you see. And then we'll start judiciously applying some super glue. So we'll put some there. And we'll just put some on the road wheels, on the inner wheel, so that way, if it squeezes out, you won't see it. We don't necessarily need to put it on every one, we'll put it on like every other one. Like that. And now we'll hold that in place. Put a bit of tension on it. A bit more tension than that. And we'll stick that down. Now I'll hold this for a minute so that it dries, and then we'll cut the other end off. Okay, now I think what we'll do is we'll cut that off about there, like that. And then we'll put some super glue on this front idler pulley. Like that. Oh, try and keep it under the camera. And then we'll tuck that in there like that. We might need to cut this down a bit more because it doesn't want to go around that bend. Oh, I think we might be all right. And then something like that. There we go, looks right, doesn't it? Marvellous. Right, I'll do the other one and then we'll figure out what we're going to do next. Right, that's got both of the tracks on, and we need to put the turret back together, so we'll do that next. Put the gun back in and whatnot. Now, I did actually put the gun in the wrong way round earlier, which is kind of funny, but never mind. So we'll pop that in there. And oh, come on. Do you know what? Oh, I can't get it out again now. Cut a bit of that plastic off the back. Blimey, that went twang. Right, should go a lot easier now. Because I mean, obviously the idea is you're supposed to put the gun in and then put the front part of the turret on, but if you do that, you can't really put it together very well, or paint it very well, I should say. Brute force and ignorance, I think. That's it. That goes in like that, and then that goes in like that. There we go. That's better. Right, and then we can pop this on here. Oh, that's got quite a lot of paint and stuff on it now. Let's just give that a quick clean up. Don't want to do it too much because we don't want to make it loose, but at the same time we want it to actually go in there properly. There we go. Right, now I was toying with the idea of doing some weathering on it, but do you know what, I might just leave it like that. I think that looks all right. Yeah, let's wrap this up. And here is our finished article. This has come out pretty well, all things considered. It is a very old model, but it's kind of good in some ways and bad in others. It's surprisingly detailed, but there are some quite badly molded pieces that don't fit together very well, and you know, what flashing there is tends to be in the worst possible places. But on the whole, it's not a terrible kit. I'm quite pleased with how it's come out. Hopefully my friend Woody will be pleased with it too, as this is entirely his fault that I've made this. I'll have to see what he thinks of it. But yes, hopefully you've enjoyed this. I'd like to take a moment and thank my top tier patrons, Howard, Amy and Hawaii Clive O, for their continued support. And of course, all my other patrons and channel members and all you lovely people at home is all very much appreciated. And I will see you all on the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.